Hi, everybody. Sandy here. It's Fridays with Sandy. We've got a very special guest for a number of reasons. Abdullah Khan. Abdullah, why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd? And is that the way what do people call you, Abdullah?
Well, my nickname is basically Abdu, which is basically ABDU, and I'm basically called by that. And
Good.
I'll start with my introduction now, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. No, why don't you tell us where you are and where you work and where you come from and where you went to college. This is all interesting.
All right, absolutely. So firstly, I am 27 years old. I am from a small town in Punjab called Kasoor, where they grow a lot of fruits. I live in Lahore, but I work from Karachi, which is a big business hub in the country.
Yeah, just for our local and solipsistic listeners, that is in the country of Pakistan. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically Pakistan. I apologize.
Yeah, a lot of our listeners think Karachi is like in South Dakota. Okay, so.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I work in Philip Morris.
Okay, that's the showstopper. You've spent your entire career at Philip Morris, right?
Yeah, basically. I've spent my entire career at Philip Morris. I've seen the company grow. I've seen the company through a lot of problems as well. So it has been an interesting journey.
Good. Now, in America, tobacco companies are villains, as are smokers. But you're aware of people from Philip Morris who have gone to business school at like Harvard and other places?
So personally, like I know a few people, but not a lot. So for example, I know one person who went to Wharton a few years ago. He was in the Pakistani affiliate. I know a lot of people who went from the region. So a couple of people do go, but it's not a lot. I've mostly seen people who stay in Philip Morris for a long
time. But it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
It's not like the business schools have put the company under a ban or a veto. They welcome people from Philip Morris. An interesting question is, well, I'm going to ask this to you. Suppose this is your business school interview and they said, what is your plan after business school?
Right. So my plan after business school is to join either a tier 1 or a tier 2 consultancy in a go-to-market strategy practice. Where basically
you got to slow down. I didn't get that. What's your plan? Make it real simple.
All right, cool. So basically, I want to join a consultancy where they'll be focusing on go-to-market strategy or business development.
You want to join a consultancy like, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, or a specialized shop? Is that what you want to do? So you want to be a consultant?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Okay, they like consultants. An interesting question would be what a business school would do if they asked you what you want to do after you graduate and you go, man, I just can't wait to get back to Philip Morris.
That's actually very interesting. Yeah.
Well, you're thinking of saying that? Are they sponsoring you? Well, let me ask you this. Are they sponsoring you?
No, they aren't sponsoring me.
That's good. Because Harvard would have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but cigarettes in New England are cigarette companies. Like it's hard to buy a pack of cigarettes around here. There are no vending machines, and they cost like $11 a pack, and you've got to be 18. So cigarette companies are not well liked. Is what I said typical of other parts of the world?
So basically, it is typical of other parts of the world, but it's not as. So basically, in Pakistan specifically, we have a few multinational companies working here. So in terms of that, it's not frowned upon. I was concerned about it from a global perspective. I talked to a few colleagues.
Well, how hard is it to buy a pack of cigarettes in Pakistan?
In Pakistan, it's very easy. So in a way, like a pack of cigarettes costs about 20 cents. You can, so like for instance, I can.
You mean like a penny a cigarette, right?
Yeah. So I have to walk only like a few steps. The shop is in front of my house. It's very easy.
Right. But you can buy cigarettes at a lot of places here. You just have to be 18, and they enforce that. Is there an age restriction in Pakistan?
Yeah. So basically, Pakistan is a very, very regulated market in terms of tobacco control. Only the pricing is a little on the lower side, but in terms
I'll
of
say,
controls, we
yeah.
can.
You've got okay, so I think working for Philip Morris is a plus, particularly if you don't want to go back there. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
It would be well, no matter what you want, don't say you want to go back. That would give an admissions committee problems. So you've got a 720 GMAT with a 90 verbal and a 67 quant. And that's kind of on the border. You said you're planning to take that again?
Yeah, so I'm planning to increase my quant score to at least about 84, sort of like in a way like percentile,
Yeah.
because I think that's
Well,
achievable
good.
at bottom.
Yeah, schools like the GMAT to be 80%, over 80% on both sides. So you're well advised to take it. You know my advice about the GMAT. Keep taking it.
It's like a lottery machine. You have to just spin it again and again.
Yeah. It's a once in a lifetime experience, and if you just keep taking it, the difference between a GMAT could make a real difference into whether you get into a gold or silver business school, and that could affect the rest of your life. So the payoff for sometimes the payoff for a small rise in your GMAT is huge in terms of the payoff for the rest of your life. It's just a great investment. So that's my advice to you and everybody else. Let's say it was an interview, and they said, "How'd you wind up at Philip Morris?"
All right. So basically, right out of university, I was looking after a pro bono job in a small startup. My dream in that startup was to basically get a product to a store shelf, and we got that product to a store shelf. And now I got this thirst to actually go into sales, go into marketing, and maybe do it on a larger scale. So I applied to a few companies. I got 2 offers, and I thought Philip Morris was the right choice because it basically has a lot of variables, but you can only basically
Okay, if John were here, I'd say, "Hey, John, what do you think of this answer?" And you know what he'd say?
Well,
It's not a good answer. You're all over the place, and I don't believe it. It's just it's slightly incoherent and not credible. If you know what those words, it's like it's mixed up story, and it's hard to fully believe.
all right. So can I go again?
Is there a better real? Yeah, you can go. Yeah, you're an eager guy. You're taking the GMAT again. You got the right attitude, Abdu. Is that the way they say it?
Yeah, definitely. So, like as I was graduating, I remember firstly I had a finance degree, and the first question that came to my mind was, do I really want to do sales? And then this job came up in Philip Morris. I gave the test. I got the offer, and then I did some research on the company, and turns out it's one of those companies in an industry which is going against itself in a way, right? So by 2025, they're planning to have about 50% of their sales in less harmful products. So like that was the initial response I got in terms of my reasoning.
Yeah, that's
Like, do
not
you think that's
credible either. You just
all right?
go, I graduated college. I had 2 offers. One was for Philip Morris. If you don't mind, what was the other one?
The other was in L'Oreal.
Isn't that another tobacco company?
So it's basically a cosmetics company. It makes makeup for women.
Oh, L'Oreal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then tell me how you made that decision.
Yeah, right. So in terms of the decision itself, I personally had sort of a lot of experience in the past 2 years working with L'Oreal because I participated in their annual competitions. I already knew sort of like to an extent what it was about. When basically Philip Morris came up,
All right,
I was particularly interested.
we can go on forever. Here's my advice to you. You've got to nail this, okay? When you will be interviewed, you're a strong candidate. I don't know if you'd be interviewed at Harvard, but you've got a lot going for you, including the fact you're working for Philip Morris. But you've got to have it's going to come up. They're going to say, tell me about your decision to join Philip Morris. And you go, I went to Lahore University. When I graduated, there were two attractive offers. One was from Laureate and one was from Philip Morris. Philip Morris paid more and had more opportunity. And I took it. I didn't consider, to be quite frankly, that was the basis of my decision. I didn't think much about, it was a legal product and I wasn't worried about it.
I agree, the pay was higher. The pay was definitely higher. Yeah.
That's a good reason to go someplace, man.
Yeah.
That is the reason business schools respect. Good. Here's a question that often will come up on an interview for a guy like you. What do you want your classmates to know about Pakistan?
All right. So about Pakistan, I would want them to know about the amazing mountains we have, because a lot of times when you talk about Pakistan, you see all of the things in the news, including sort of all of.
They don't want a sales job, and your classmates don't care about mountains. What they want to know is, first of all, where is it? Second of all, what is it kind of demographically? What's the form of government? What's the economy? They want a nutshell version of that. Is it it's a quote unquote developing country, so-called?
So it's an emerging market.
Good. That's the kind of answer. Yeah.
And is one of the fastest growing sort of economies in Southeast Asia. We also had the highest growth amongst the region in COVID. So that really shows the resilience of the economy. We have about 200 million people in the system. About more than 50% of them are under 40. So we have a lot of young people, a lot of talent in Pakistan. And I'd love you to know that we had about $500 million of investment in our startups recently, and the tech space is booming like anything.
How come?
So basically, like two major areas. So first is B2B, second is B2C, right? So the business to business area includes basically enabling retailers in Pakistan, like the small mom and pop stores. They're trying to make
You're not answering the question. The question was, how come you've got so many startups? And the answer is there's a lot of small companies. The economy is based on this. The government supports it. There are techs. There's a kind of a Silicon. I'm making this up, but this is the way an answer should sound. There's a Silicon Valley in Pakistan called Blah. So those are the factors that are supporting very quick economic growth. And the demographics are worth noting. It's a lot of the country, whatever that statistic is, X% of the population is under 40. So we're one of the younger countries in Southeast Asia. You get that's the way you answer the question.
Absolutely. Got it.
You want to give it a try, or you want to give your?
I love to give it a try. I love to give it a try.
Okay.
So basically, so like one of the main reasons is that we have
let's start. Yeah, what do you want your classmates to know about? This is an important question to everybody watching this interview. It frequently comes up, particularly if you come from less frequented countries. What do you want your classmates to know about Pakistan?
So Pakistan is an emerging market with about 200 million people. About more than 50% of them are under 40. We have a booming sort of economy, although it's slowing down these days. But in COVID, we had the highest growth in Southeast Asia, and on top of that, we've had startups booming everywhere. So we had record investments last year, and one of the main reasons for that is the government really supports it, and secondly, sort of like a lot of people like me come back to Pakistan after studying from business schools, and they have these brilliant ideas that come to life, and that's really showing, honestly.
What's the nature of the government?
So the nature of the government is that it's a democratic government, and so basically,
is it stable?
it's not as stable as we would have preferred, but it's going towards stability. We've had a military sort of like a military dictatorship for about 40 years till 1990, and then from 2000 to 2007. But after that, it's been a democratic government. So yeah.
Those are what you see. When they ask you, tell me about Pakistan, they don't want a sales job. You know, the fact that it was under a dictatorship for two periods, one of them quite long and one of them quite recent. That's something your classmates want to know. And then, how would you? What are the startup businesses? What areas are they in? And do you need a local partner? That's always an issue they're concerned with.
Yeah, so the three major areas of startups are, firstly, it's basically Agritech. So that's the agricultural startups. The second is
what does that mean, an agricultural startup? They're making agricultural products, or they're farming?
So Agritech is basically they basically take the role of the middleman, and they give the farmer kind of like more money for their produce. So basically, instead of exploiting the farmer, that already happens, they come up with a tech-based solution that's more sustainable, and it also manages supply chains well. It's an end-to-end solution that sells to the end consumer and takes from the farmers, right? So that's one of the things. The second is EdTech. So by EdTech, I mean like anything from basically courses that help you give exams to upskilling basically women or any sort of underrepresented group. And then finally we have these retail.
I could be wrong. I'm no expert on this. My understanding of, but look this up after we're done here. My understanding of EdTech is technology that's used in the education field. So it's technology.
I think it is a larger set, and I think a few.
Okay, let's not have. Anyway, look it up, everybody.
I'll definitely look it up. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
What's the third?
And the third are the retail-based sort of like the startups. And the first category are the ones that are like DoorDash, which is essentially Food Panda here in Pakistan. It basically gives to customers directly. And then the second one is basically which sends stock to the retailers, and basically the retailers buy sort of like the goods through an app. So they order on an app, and a distributor comes and delivers products on the next day. So it's basically revolutionizing the sort of like this, in a way, like the supply chain.
That sounds like Amazon.
It's basically Amazon for retailers. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a lot going for you, and the Philip Morris thing will be interesting. Give me a roadmap after business school. Like what company? This is the final question here. Something you should be prepared for. What's a roadmap after business school? Where would you want to start working, and then what would be a job after that, and where do you see yourself at the highlight of your career?
So after business school, I want to pursue consultancy, like I said, but I want to do it for a short while. I don't want to do it for the long term. After doing it for about 4 to 5 years, I plan to join the industry in a corporate strategy role, where I'm looking after emerging markets and basically white space markets.
Join what industry?
So it is the CPG industry I'm basically interested in, honestly. So I feel I could take it sort of like, in a way, I feel I could add value from the experience I've had in Philip Morris and managing CPG. So I personally see value in going to markets like Afghanistan. It's something I'm managing right now, but actually in a more efficient way. So yeah, I do feel that
same sermon I've given after all your answers. You're not doing too well on this. You really got to get your story straight. This question about give me a roadmap for your career, you should be able to do that. You go, after my career, I'd like to join a consulting company like A and B, where I could get general consulting skills and also specialize in consumer products. A good job after that would be like a strategic position at a consumer product company, such as 2 and 3. And then, this is important. Say it every week. Nobody ever has it. You need like 2 or 3 role models for you. for a job, whose job do you want? Yeah, this is a question I ask every week, and no one ever has answered it. Whose job do you want in like 25, 30 years?
So I love to be so I should name the person or the job?
I've told everybody you got to go in there with three heroes. It's just worth looking up. One is someone you admire. One is someone we both know that you admire, besides Barack Obama. And the third is a role model. Everybody needs to have those three people when you get interviewed by a business school, and it's worth doing the research. So let's see if you can do that lib here.
All right. So in terms of a role model, I really admire Toto Wolff, who's the team principal for Mercedes, and sort of at least in terms of the work ethic he has. In terms of the career aspirations, I really look forward. I really admire the sort of like the person who brought Kareem to Pakistan, which was a tech-based startup, the first of its kind. And I really want to have that kind of impact that he had, and be a pioneer in places like Afghanistan and places across the emerging markets.
Good. Okay, you brush those, finish those off. Sound smarter. That's really good homework. Okay. You got a lot going for you. I think, boy, your chances of getting into Harvard are, well, I think your chances of being interviewed would be like 30%, which is, high. What you got going for you is coming from Pakistan is a plus, and I believe working for Philip Morris is a plus. Philip Morris is a Harvard Business School kind of company, even though they're violently anti-tobacco. Just as a manager, just as a bunch of case studies, Philip Morris is right up there, Alan. Do you know if there's any Philip Morris Harvard case studies?
Yeah, so I know a person from Turkey who has had a similar trajectory as me. She was in commercial, she went to strategy, and then after 5 years in the company, she went to Harvard. I was talking to her. I asked her if I should be worried about her tobacco background.
And what did she say?
She said that don't worry about it. It's just like any other CPG like Pepsi or Nestle or Coke. So don't really get worried about that.
Good. Do you know the question I asked? Is there a case study? You know what the Harvard case study is? You read these cases. I'm sure there are. Are there case studies about Philip Morris? You can look these up. You can even buy them.
I would love to look these up, but right now I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah. I believe, I could be wrong. I believe you could look these up, and I believe you could purchase them as one-off items.
That's definitely a very good point. I'll note it down.
It would just make interesting reading.
For sure.
Okay. Abdu, you got a lot going for you. Good luck. This is my tough advice. Keep taking the GMAT, baby. It counts more than anybody lets on. The difference between a 720 GMAT and a 740 GMAT, or certainly the difference between a GMAT with a 67% quant and an 80% quant, can be, that can change the outcome. So that's my farewell advice, okay?
Absolutely.
Great meeting you, and good luck. Let us know how it works out.
Definitely. I definitely will. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Bye-bye.